Ideal mesmo para o mundo atual seria fazer o ensino médio junto com o curso técnico, certo? É no Senac que o aluno tem autonomia de verdade, formação cidadã, foco na diversidade, preparação para o Enem, material didático sem taxas e muito mais. Na real, tem tudo que você precisa para se sentir preparado para a vida. Seja para entrar no mundo do trabalho ou te ajudar a decidir o que fazer na faculdade. Quer saber? Senac. Vem comigo. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino-médio-técnico.
A Liberty Seguros agora é Yellow. Tudo aquilo que já era bom continua igual. Excelência e proximidade permanecem como nossa essência. Porque não é uma mudança, é uma evolução. A Yellow está sempre em sintonia com você. É liberdade com segurança. A melhor experiência acessível a todos os clientes, iluminando cada passo da sua jornada. Deixe essa luz iluminar seu caminho. Yellow Seguradora. Seguro para viver livre. Consulte seu corretor.
Now, back to the Larry Kudlow Show.
So, can we get growth? I don't mean 1 to 2% growth. I mean 3 to 4% GDP growth. Maybe even higher than that. Growth policies mean everything. Let's talk to Kevin Hassett, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors during the Trump years, distinguished fellow at the Hoover Institute, and author of the great book, The Drift, Stopping America's Slide to Socialism. Kevin, I want growth. I actually want 4% growth. You have to help me with this. Get us to 4% growth, Kevin Hassett.
I think 4% growth is the likely outcome over the next 3 or 4 years, because what's going on is we've got a president and a Congress that wants to basically push supply-side stuff at the same time that we've got artificial intelligence, exploding throughout America, making people more productivity. And so I think between the two of them, that there's really no reason whatsoever that we can't, instead of having 3% growth last time, having 4% this time.
Go through it. So you got your tax cuts, and he wants to add on some tax cuts. You got deregulation. You got liquid gold, drill, baby, drill, bring down energy costs. I think of that maybe when you talk about the AI revolution, and I agree with you, it's already having some productivity enhancements. It kind of like opens the door. In other words, in a word, less government, more private sector. Less government spending, more private sector incentives, which always is good for growth.
Yeah, it really is, and you're exactly right this time, Larry. So basically, if you think about it, the Larry Kudlow path to prosperity is there, but then we're going to add AI on top of it, which is kind of like putting pixie dust there. But the one thing I got to say that is something that we really have to watch out for is if you go back and look what happened, we had a chart in the Wall Street Journal that Casey Mulligan and I put in a couple weeks ago, where we just actually had a chart of what happened to growth, per person over the Trump years, and then except for COVID, it was like just straight up. And then at the beginning of Biden, it was straight up too. But then he spent all this money and set inflation off, and then all of a sudden everybody's losing money because inflation is more than their wages. The point is that there's a risk. The one risk for President Trump is that when they do the bill next year, that they end up spending a lot more than they want. And then all of a sudden you could potentially, get inflation because there's, too much spending going on. And so he's got to get, like all the Musk and everybody, they've really got to pay attention to not only the supply side, but the demand side. And the demand side needs to be constrained so that unemployment doesn't take off and that inflation doesn't take off.
Well, so you mentioned the magic word, Elon Musk. I don't know quite what to make of it. I'm not privy to a lot of these conversations, but there he is out there talking about cutting $2 trillion out of the budget and in general working with transition or eventually working with the administration to pull back on spending. And it's, there's a couple things, Kevin. There's stuff that's been spending programs that have been authorized but not yet spent out. So that's a good target. And then there's just stuff that you don't want. I mean, that could be packed into a reconciliation bill, which is a big fat budget and tax bill, the end of the fiscal year. It'll be, probably next September. But the point I'm making is there's stuff that's not spent that you could take back. There's also stuff you just don't need at all. And maybe there's a more promising avenue.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And don't forget that the debt limit is going to be hit like in March, but really in May or something. And so we're going to have to extend the debt limit as well. And so it's a really nice opportunity to get all of our stuff in a row. And I really expect that we will. But I think that the cutting taxes and all that kind of stuff, given how big the majorities are, that's going to be kind of easy. The hard part is going to be making sure that we don't get another, Biden-like spend of inflation, because they're spending way too much money.
One other point, John Carney mentioned this. If you had some deregulation with the Fed, the Fed's vice chairman for regulation or whatever it's called, let banks make loans for example, fossil fuels or whatever. Don't restrict bank lending practice. You don't have to raise their bank capital. They already have enough. But you let them, unleash them with respect to things like fossil fuels or other forms of fossil fuel energy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and again, there's going to be a lot of going to have drilling that's going to happen because they basically didn't drill much, but they did empty out all the wells. And so there actually is sort of a problem that requires a lot of drilling. But again, everything is lined up. The president wants to do it. He's got a team that wants to do it. And so I've never, ever been as optimistic as I've been over the next few years about how we really should be getting 4 or 5% growth because of everything that's going on.
Wow. I like that. That's very bullish. Productivity rates, Kevin, you get back to 2%, maybe 3% productivity, output per hour.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's again, the thing that we're seeing from AI. The AI just makes it so that people know what they're doing, and they do stuff better and more efficiently, and it's having a huge effect on productivity. And so that's really where it comes from.
It's like liberating the economy, liberating it from the yokes of government. Kevin Hassett, the best of the best. His book is The Drift, Stopping America's Slide to Socialism. Other side of the break, National Security Advisor, Ambassador Robert O'Brien. Plenty to talk about there.
Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better. With services close to all New York and New Jersey cemeteries, Eden Memorial Chapels offer fair and balanced pricing and can provide easy transfer of you and your loved ones to Israel. While you're grieving, they're here to take care of all the details so that you deal with less bureaucracy and have more peace of mind. Go to EdenMemorial.com. That's EdenMemorial.com.